Tiny homes promise simplicity. Less space. Less stress. Less burden. But does less space automatically mean better health? Or can smaller living sometimes create new physical strain? Today, we're exploring both sides. Because health doesn't respond to trends. It responds to environment. And tiny homes change the environment in powerful ways. As we move on to Section 1, if you find this video helpful, like, share, and subscribe for more ways to support your well-being at home. Section 1. What small space reduces? Smaller homes reduce environmental load in ways most people don't consciously notice. Environmental load refers to the total amount of sensory and cognitive input your nervous system must process throughout the day. In larger homes, that load quietly increases. More rooms mean more transitions. More spaces mean more unfinished tasks. More surfaces mean more visual information. Even when you're not actively thinking about it, your brain is scanning. It tracks multiple environmental zones, multiple responsibilities, multiple maintenance cues, an unmade guest bed, a hallway that needs repainting, a second living room rarely used, a garage with stored items, a spare bathroom that needs cleaning. Each of these registers as low-level cognitive demand. The nervous system remains slightly alert. Not in a dramatic way, but in a constant background way. Over time, this creates baseline tension. Now contrast that with a tiny home. Visual fields are contained. Movement patterns are predictable. Every object has a defined purpose. There are fewer doors to close. Fewer rooms to check. Fewer unfinished spaces lingering in peripheral vision. When the brain scans the environment, it finds completion faster. That completion matters. Because the brain relaxes when environments feel manageable. Cleaning demands are reduced. Maintenance cycles are shorter. Tasks reach done more often. And that sense of completion reduces cognitive friction. Over time, lower environmental load can influence physiology. Cortisol output may stabilize. Heart rate variability may improve. Parasympathetic activity, the body's rest and repair mode, activates more easily. Breathing becomes slower. Muscle tone softens. Sleep onset improves. This is where tiny living often helps. Not because small space is magical, but because reduced input gives the nervous system space to recover. Section 2. Indoor air quality risks. But smaller spaces concentrate air. And that changes the equation. In a large house, air volume dilutes what's released into it. In a tiny home, the same activities create higher concentration exposure. Cooking emissions accumulate faster. Even something simple, sautéing onions, boiling water, baking, releases fine particles and nitrogen dioxide into the air. In a small, enclosed space, those particles don't disperse as easily. Moisture builds more quickly too. Showers increase moisture. Breathing adds humidity. Laundry drying indoors. Even houseplants contribute to humidity. Humidity rises faster in tight spaces, and when humidity lingers above ideal levels, mold growth risk increases, especially in corners, under cabinetry, or behind compact furniture where airflow is limited. VOCs, volatile organic compounds, also behave differently in small environments. New furniture, cabinet finishes, flooring adhesive, mattress foam, and cleaning products all off gas. All of these off gas at low levels. In a large home, dilution reduces concentration. In a tiny home, those same compounds may remain suspended longer unless ventilation is excellent. Cleaning chemicals disperse in higher concentrations too. A quick spray of disinfectant in a small bathroom can produce a noticeable spike in airborne compounds. Without adequate airflow, those compounds linger at breathing height. Over time, poor indoor air quality affects real biological systems. Sleep quality declines when carbon dioxide levels rise overnight. Inflammation markers can increase when particulate exposure is consistent. The immune system becomes more reactive when mold spores or irritants accumulate. Mental clarity can dull when air feels stale or heavy. Headaches appear. Fatigue lingers. Focus drifts. In small homes, airflow design matters more than square footage. Windows that open across from each other create cross-ventilation. Kitchen fans that vent air outside your home work much better than ones that just recycle the air. Bathroom fans that actually exhaust moisture reduce mold risk dramatically. Air purifiers sized correctly for cubic footage stabilize particulate levels. In tiny living, ventilation is not optional. It is foundational. Small spaces can support health beautifully, but only when air is actively managed. Because in compact environments, what you breathe becomes the most important feature of the home. Section 3. Stress response in small spaces. Containment can calm the nervous system, but overcrowding can activate it. And the difference between those two experiences is subtle, yet powerful. When a small space is clear, intentional, and organized, the brain perceives safety. Boundaries are visible. Movement paths are predictable. Nothing feels chaotic or ambiguous. The nervous system relaxes when it knows what to expect. But when a small space becomes cluttered, noisy, or overstimulating, the opposite happens. There is nowhere for the eye to rest. No clear visual boundaries. No private corner to decompress. In larger homes, clutter can hide in unused rooms. In tiny homes, clutter is unavoidable. It is always within sight. And visual clutter increases cognitive load. The brain must continuously filter, sort, and ignore information. That filtering process consumes energy. Noise behaves differently in small spaces too. Sound reflects more quickly. Voices overlap. Appliances hum closer to ear level. Even subtle background noise can keep the nervous system in low-grade alert mode. Privacy also becomes biologically relevant. Humans regulate stress through perceived control. If there is no private zone, no area to withdraw, cortisol levels can remain slightly elevated. Constant proximity affects relationships as well. In small homes, partners or family members share more airspace, more sound, more sensory exposure. For some people, that closeness builds connection. For others, it reduces recovery time. The nervous system requires moments of solitude. Even brief separation helps reset stress physiology. Tiny homes support health only when they feel intentional, organized, predictable, clear pathways, defined zones, purposeful storage, good lighting, and adequate airflow. When those conditions exist, the smallness feels containing, not constricting. But when space feels chaotic, crowded, or unresolved, the body does not experience calm. It experiences compression. Health is not about smallness. It is about environmental clarity. A small space can be incredibly regulating, but only if it communicates order, safety, and breathing room. and that distinction determines whether the body relaxes or stays on guard. Section 4. Sleep and recovery in tiny homes. Smaller spaces often improve sleep when lighting is controlled. Sleep is not just about bedtime. It is about how the nervous system transitions from alertness to recovery. In tiny homes, that transition can become simpler. There are fewer artificial light sources, fewer glowing screens across distant rooms, less walking from one bright area to another. Even the physical act of preparing for sleep becomes more contained. Bed within reach, bathroom nearby, light switch accessible, all within reach. That containment reduces stimulation. The brain reads the environment as quieter. And when evening routines become predictable, melatonin release stabilizes. Predictability supports circadian rhythm. But small space alone does not guarantee better sleep. Air behaves differently in tight square footage. Carbon dioxide accumulates faster overnight. Cooking odors can linger into the evening. Moisture from showers or humid climates can concentrate. If ventilation is weak, the air grows stale. And stale air increases nighttime awakenings. Oxygen exchange matters. Even a slight drop in air freshness can fragment deep sleep cycles. Temperature also becomes magnified in small homes. Heat builds quickly. Cold penetrates more sharply. Without stable insulation and airflow, the body must work harder to regulate core temperature. And when the body works harder, recovery decreases. Noise behaves differently too. In small structures, exterior sounds may feel closer. Wind against walls, rain on metal roofing, footsteps above loft beds. If insulation is strong, these sounds feel cocooning. If insulation is poor, they feel intrusive. Sleep quality depends on air exchange, temperature stability, noise insulation, and light discipline. Small space helps only if recovery is protected. When lighting is soft, airflow is consistent, and sound is buffered, tiny homes can create an almost cave-like sleep environment. Contained, predictable, secure. But when ventilation is weak or heat becomes trapped, sleep suffers quietly. And poor sleep slowly erodes immune function, hormone balance, inflammation control, and mental clarity. The difference is not square footage. It is environmental design. Small spaces can support deep recovery, but only when they are built and maintained to breathe. Section 5. When tiny living hurts. Tiny living may increase risk when ventilation is inadequate, moisture control is poor, materials off-gas in confined areas, layout increases constant physical tension. In small spaces, air does not behave the same way it does in larger homes. When square footage shrinks, air volume shrinks with it. That means cooking fumes concentrate faster. Cleaning chemicals linger longer. Moisture from showers has fewer places to disperse. Inadequate ventilation becomes amplified. In a large home, a small ventilation flaw may go unnoticed. In a tiny home, it compounds. Carbon dioxide levels can rise overnight. Humidity can settle into corners. Air exchange slows. And when moisture lingers, mold risk increases. Not dramatically overnight, but gradually. And gradual exposure is what strains the immune system. Materials matter more too. Many tiny homes use compact, multifunctional materials, engineered wood, foam insulation, sealants, adhesives. These materials can release volatile organic compounds, VOCs. In a large home, dilution reduces concentration. In a tiny home, dilution is limited. Hidden toxins matter more in small spaces. Environmental health becomes amplified. Even layout influences physiology. If movement pathways are tight and repetitive, the body adopts microtension. Shoulders lift slightly. Posture compresses subtly. Storage becomes overhead and frequent reaching increases strain. These small physical stressors accumulate. And chronic low-level tension keeps the nervous system slightly activated. Tiny living is not inherently harmful, but it requires intentional design. Strong cross-ventilation, moisture barriers, low VOC materials, clear airflow pathways, and proper insulation. Small mistakes become large exposures. Small improvements create large benefits. The margin for error narrows in compact living. But when environmental health is prioritized, tiny homes can feel remarkably clean, breathable, and efficient. Health in small spaces is not automatic. It is amplified. And amplification works both ways. Tiny homes are not automatically healthier. They reduce environmental load, but they amplify environmental mistakes. Health improves when air is clean, light is balanced, clutter is controlled, moisture is managed, and privacy is respected. Less space can help, but only when the environment supports the body. If this video helped you, like, share, and subscribe for more ways to support your well-being at home. That was part 4 of the Cottage Health Effect. Be sure to subscribe to be notified for the upcoming episodes. Thanks for watching, and remember, wellness begins at home.